Welcome to the International Mining Investment Conference. My name is Jay Martin. I'm the president of Cambridge House International, and I'm very happy to be here today. So this morning, we've decided to kick this conference off by inviting 5 of our conference keynotes to the stage and getting them to share what they currently own and what they currently recommend. Before we get started, I want to make a few announcements about the show floor. And the first is a feature that we've just brought to the conference last year, and this has become the top-rated new feature voted on by our exhibitors, by our attendees, and that's the conference deal room. So if you look directly behind us, we can see a big banner. It says MRG Deal Room right there. And what that is it's like a conference within our conference. This allows all of our investors to book one-on-one meetings with company CEOs or conference keynotes. If you've done that already, congratulations. If you would like to do that, there is a reception desk at the front of the deal room, and you're more than welcome to approach them and see who you can book meetings with today or tomorrow. Now, all of the content at this conference, the main hall and all 3 workshops will be filmed. It's all going to be available 100% free at cambridgehouse.com. So if there's any talks that you want to see again or anything you missed, no worries. It will all be available within about a week and a half on cambridgehouse.com. Okay, I'd like to welcome our panelists to the stage. Come on up here, guys. Now, investors this morning get a bit of a head start because we get to begin the show with the best ideas from 5 of our top conference keynotes. And all of these investors to my left have spent years traveling the world, doing diligence, researching projects, grilling CEOs, in addition to investing their own cash, writing their own checks before they recommend anybody else do the same. Now, it's very easy for investors like myself to take a panel like this for granted. These are investment newsletter writers. Why wouldn't they share their top picks with us at a conference? But there is an obsessive number of hours that go into this. And each of these 5 gentlemen to my left have dedicated their lives and their careers to the junior mining sector, arguably one of the most volatile sectors on the planet. And I guarantee there have been years where each wondered why they were doing this for a living. It's one thing to put in the hours, to travel, to do the diligence, to spend years grilling CEOs, but it's an entirely different thing to get up on stage and make your recommendations public. That takes a different level of courage. And so before we begin this morning, I'd like you all to join me in just acknowledging our 5 conference keynotes for joining us this morning. Please give them a round of applause. It takes a certain level of human durability to do what these guys do for a living. Okay, now, we're going to begin with introductions, and we're going to start at the far left. 30, 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here today?
Right. My name is Brent Cook. I'm an economic geologist. I write an investment letter with Joe Mazumdar, another economic geologist. And basically that letter is about what we are buying, selling, and avoiding with our own money. The letter comes out once a week, and it's fairly technical. And I suggest we've got a website. Lots of information there. Go to it, explorationinsights.com.
Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, no, my name is Kai Hoffman. I'm the CEO of Oren Inc. We run a financing database, pretty much. We track all the financings in the junior mining space. On top of that, I also run a German language newsletter out of Germany, obviously, called The Investor Magazine. Been doing that for the last 7 years. And please feel free to join us or follow us here and track all the financings with us at oreninc.com. I jokingly call it the company that nobody can pronounce. Maybe I'll rename it to that. But it's got some unique features there, and you'll see as well if you go to the website, it's all purple, which kind of separates us from the rest of the pack. And the website is oreninc.com. And we also put it into context what we see as well. So we publish the Oren Inc. Index, telling you how the market is doing on a daily basis. So, and my top picks are more based on what I'm seeing in myself here and recommending in my Investor Magazine newsletter.
Excellent. Thank you, Kai.
David Morgan, publisher of the Morgan Report. Initial website was silverinvestor.com. I rebranded the Morgan Report because we cover all minerals beyond silver and gold space. And to get on the free list, just go to themorganreport.com, give me a first name and email address, and double opt-in saying it's really you and you're not a robot, and you'll get on our mailing list. And if you're intrigued by what we do, you can take it from there.
Thank you, David.
Good morning. My name's David Erfle. I'm based out of Southern California, and I write a weekly column for Kitco. It comes out every Friday for about 2 years now. And I started a subscription-based newsletter as well about a year ago. It's kind of unique. I do not take any money from any companies, and I invest in all the companies I write about in Kitco and that I cover in my newsletter. And I give my subscribers a 24-hour notice before I buy something. It's doing very well, and in 2016 I was up 99%, and last year I was up 45%. This year, not so great. I'm about flat, but I think that's going to change.
Thank you, David.
Morning. My name is Nick Hodge. I'm the founder and publisher of the Outsider Club. It's a community of a couple 100,000 retail investors with a contrarian bent to their worldview. On the back of that, we have a series of paid newsletters covering everything from cannabis and resources to dividend reinvestment programs. So it's really soup to nuts investing for retail investors. And I also have a private placement service through which I've raised a couple of 10 or 20, $30 million over the past few years for resource, cannabis, and medical technology companies.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Okay, we're going to move on to our top picks at the conference. And we're going to start on my far left with Brent Cook. And last year, Brent, we had you up on stage. You were recommending prospect generators. What are you looking at today?
Right. Well, it's a little bit embarrassing because there's only one company out there that I actually own personally, which is Eurasian Minerals. But that's actually why I come to these things. Probably half the companies on this list I don't recognize. So this gives me 2 days to go out and talk to people, see what's going on, and likewise you all. So by the end of this, I should have some other ideas. The one stock I do own, Eurasian Royalties now, it's got a global portfolio of about 80 projects scattered across 9 countries. What they do is generate early stage ideas, bring in a partner to either do the project work, earn in, or just maintain a royalty. Right now they've got 20 partners scattered across these 9 countries. They're paying royalties coming from Leeville in the Carlin Trend in Nevada and the Bayal polymetallic deposit in Turkey. They've also got 0.5% royalty on the Timok deposit in Serbia, which we figure is worth between 20 and 30 million to them. And they own 40% of a company called ICG, which owns 51% of a 1.6 billion ton copper deposit in Russia. That's up for sale. Scotia's working on selling it, and we think, Joe and I, that by the next few 3-4 months they should be able to sell that off to somebody. If they do so, we figure that brings in the order of 50 to 60 million to them. So that's the one company that I do own. Looking out there, though, I also see Midas Gold is on the list. That's a great deposit, 5.6 million ounces, a little over 1.7 grams. Barrick just came into the deal. It's a refractory deposit. Barrick knows refractory deposits. You've got probably 3 more years wait in terms of time and permitting, but it's one of the few large high-grade deposits in the U.S. that's still available and held by a junior. I see New Pacific is out there. They've got a very large disseminated silver deposit in Bolivia. Bolivia is the big red light there. I need to figure out how that works. I haven't been there. And finally, I looked at Calibre as well, which I've been to their projects in Nicaragua. They've got a joint venture with IM Gold and Centerra. The Centerra project has 700 something million, or 760,000 ounces at about 7 grams. That's expanding, and they're working 100% on some skarn copper gold projects that look pretty interesting too. So in terms of things that I would look at in more detail, I'd suggest those. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Brent. Kai.
No, first of all, thanks, Jay, for having me here. It's the first time I'm presenting here in the top panel this morning. And I'm going to stick to what I know. You'll never see me recommend a cobalt or a lithium stock, so I'm going to stick to gold, silver, copper stocks primarily. Unlike Brent, I'm not a geologist or even an engineer, but I do a lot of site visits, and I pick up a lot of things in that regard. And I think I've done close to 10 site visits already this year, so I'm going to recommend the stocks that I've visited, actually, or mention stocks that I've visited, and I think that do have a fair chance of success here. And I want you to take everything with a grain of salt as well, because top picks for me are not companies that are going to do 30, 40, 50% tomorrow. And with the gold price this morning, it's actually, we might go down the first 10% tomorrow. So maybe you should actually have some patience, because I see a lot of you have their pens in their hand, writing down what I'm going to say here probably in a second. So just take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own due diligence. I think that you're here already is the first step to success in this industry. Just learn as much as you can. Go to the companies that I'm going to mention, or any of the companies actually, talk to them and build your own opinion and see what they're all about, talk about their goals. I'm going to mention a couple of companies here. One, I'm really keen on the US right now. One, obviously because of the president right now, he's making it easier for companies to work. Permitting seems to be, like you mentioned, Midas. I think they're profiting greatly from the new president or the new political agenda in the US. So I'm going to one of my picks is actually Allegiant. They're a Nevada company. They're almost a prospect generator because they're sitting on 13 projects, focusing on 2 of them right now. And I also want to mention that the companies I'm mentioning are not top picks per se, because they all have a little chink in their armor. They all have a little risk. For example, Allegiant will need to finance again this year, but they do have a world-class management team in the Cordex team and Andy Wallace. They have top location infrastructure. It's just 30 minutes outside of Tonopah, Nevada, and they do have projects to be successful. Another company I visited, actually also in Nevada, is Nevada Copper. One problem, this company actually does have some history. And recently a Russian private equity group that's based in Zurich sort of came into the deal, cleaned it up, financed it, and is now offering a backstop on that on the new Pumpkin Hollow redevelopment. And I think they just hired a company to finalize the shaft development there. And from what I hear, this is going to be the next copper producer in the U.S. It's really interesting. I don't see a lot of financing risk at this time. They are at a decent valuation already. I think it's close to $280 million. But the profile, I think, is quite interesting, and Brent might differ a little bit when it comes to the geology itself, but I do think the management team is top-notch. They just hired a great new CEO, and as I said, the financing risk is quite mitigated. And I'm going to swing, I'm going to go for one here as well, which is Rover Metals. This company is not listed yet. I personally own some stock. They're going to IPO at the end of June, or in June. They're here as well. They're just south of Terrax in Yellowknife. And I think one of the reasons that I'm coming here to the conference, because I'm running a mining deal club as well, is we're looking for opportunities to invest and make money. That's why we're all here, right? So this is one of the companies you should take a closer look at if you're interested in pre-IPO investments. As you know, if they're successful, there can be quite some leverage. But keep in mind, I'm not a 4-month warrant chaser here as well. My investments are more 12 to 18 months, and I'm not the first one out the door as well. And then that's not the idea of the mining deal club that we run, and of any of the top picks here I mentioned. So keep a longer horizon, investment horizon, and good luck.
Excellent. Thank you, Kai. Now, David, I know you generally look at more developed companies, but what do you see today?
Okay. All right. These are 3 advanced stage development companies that I like, and all are in Canada. I'll just mention that we're asked to provide companies that are here on the floor, and I have a few that I like, maybe a better one I'm going to mention here, that are in the private report. But moving on, number 1, Sabina. This, for long-term subscribers, know I had that on the list a long time ago and dropped it off. Sabina, the company's developing the Back River project in the Nunavut, Canada, and its resources graded very high, considering it's a major open pit component to the project of 6.3 grams per ton. It will have 3 open pits and 1 underground, with over 70% of the ounces produced coming from the open pits. Back River will be a sizable asset, with the average production of 2,000 ounces gold over the initial 11-year mine life. Due to its high-grade nature, which offsets the strip ratio, which isn't the best, its all-in sustaining cost is projected to be $620 an ounce. Second one, Victoria Gold. The company's fully permitted, fully funded advanced stage development company, now in the process of constructing the Eagle Gold project in Yukon. Its low-grade deposit is offset by a very low strip ratio. Average annual production is projected to be 200,000 ounces. Gold annually with an all-in sustaining cost profile projected to be $720 per ounce, which includes their royalty stream. There is significant upside potential as exploration has been limited to the Eagle deposit. The economics are compelling, generating an after-tax internal rate of return of nearly 30% at $1,250 gold. And lastly, Alexco. Former producer, not that many years ago, Alexco has put their flagship asset, Bellakino, on care and maintenance due to low silver prices and the silver stream, which greatly hampered the economics. Anyone that's followed this company is probably well aware of that. It has since then made several important discoveries at its Keno Hill land package, highlighted by the very high-grade nature of the deposits in the area. I'm old enough to know the Keno Hill properties fairly well from the last bull market. It's since advanced what will be a 4+ producing mines feeding a central mill and amended its silver stream with wheat and precious metals, such that an ongoing purchase price is a function of the silver price and head grade. All but one of the mines is fully permitted. Once this permit is received, a construction decision will likely be made shortly thereafter. So I'd like to let everyone know that I'll be speaking at Workshop 3 about the 11 o'clock time frame tomorrow. I'm going to talk about maximizing your profits in this industry. I want to teach you how to win, and win again, and also lose with grace and move on.
Excellent. Thank you, David. David Erfle.
Well, I first of all, I want to thank my friend David Morgan for offering me the perfect lead into my first pick, which is Alexco Resources. Thanks, Dave. And I can touch on a few more things that Dave wasn't able to cover with Alexco. I have visited the property last year. It's a fantastic property. It's been a high-grade silver producer in the past, and as Dave said, it did very well in the last bull market. It went from 50 cents to $10, and what management has done since that time was, like David mentioned, they took Bellakino off production because the silver price had gone down. And what they've done since then is they've found a lot more ounces, and they've done it by not diluting the share price very much. It still has a very tight share structure, and also it has something else that will provide more leverage to not only shareholders but with what's going on in the retail space coming into this sector. I believe once the retail space comes into this sector, the share price will get to at least over $4 a share. It's trading at about $1.40 US right now. And once that happens, US funds will be able to get into the stock because it has a big board listing. There's not very many junior miners with a big board listing. So if you combine a tight share structure with a big board listing, the stock can really run. So that's my first pick, which is a near-term producer. The next pick is a developer explorer in Burkina Faso called Orzone Gold. They have a 5 million ounce deposit in Burkina Faso, which is a great place to build a mine. There's been 10 mines in the last 10 years built in Burkina Faso. They're easily permitted, and the ground is flat as a pancake, and the new management team has come in and taken off over $100 million capex off the previous PEA that came out by the previous management team. So they'll have a new feasibility study coming out in June, and I think that capex is going to be probably around 150 million, something like that. It's an oxide deposit, shallow. There's sulfides underneath that they haven't even drill tested yet, so there's lots of blue sky at this thing. It's got great infrastructure. It's 85 clicks from the capital city, just 5 clicks off the main highway. They've already got facilities, a warehouse all built. New management teams, proven mine builders. The CEO, Patrick Downey, has been buying shares in the open market since he came on board about a year ago at around this price. They just did a strategic finance with Resource Capital. Strategic finances are great for shareholders because it offers a strong hand dilution. They took a 19.99% of the company, and there was no warrants, so those shares went into strong hands. So now the share structure is a bit up there. I think it's about 225 million fully diluted. But this will be a mine. There's 10 million ounces within a 15-kilometer radius there. B2 Gold has a mine. West African Resources is building a mine. My third pick is an early stage resource company called Torque Resources. Torque Resources, yeah. The management team is the same management team that put together Keegan, which is now Asanko in producing. They put together Caden, and they did something very remarkable in 2014, which is they actually sold a company in one of the dangerous parts of the world to mine without a resource in a bear market, which pretty much saved my 2014, by the way. I was very thankful for that. They've also put together Oren Resources, who've had a bit of trouble at their Committee Bay project with the grades, but the company's very solid. They have some other projects. They have some projects in Peru that look very promising. And Torque they have about $15 million, and they have a flagship property in Newfoundland, which is on trend from Marathon's Valentine Lake Gold Camp. And recently, Marathon has been stepping out towards Torque's properties, and the Torque share price has been actually benefiting more than the Marathon share price with these drill results. And Marathon will be putting out a PEA any day now, so it'll be interesting to see what the Torque share price does when this happens. Let me tell you where these people are. Alexco, they're in booth 712, and their presentation will be at 11:20 today at workshop 3. Orezone is at booth 201. Their presentation will be directly after at 11:30 in workshop 3. And Torque is in booth 314. Their presentation will be at 2:50 today in workshop 2. And full disclosure, I own shares in all these companies and recommend them to my subscribers.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Nick.
Someone mentioned the politics in the United States. Sure, we have a president that's allowing things to be drilled faster and sooner, but there's also a lot of vitriol in the United States right now. The left is not talking to the right. They can't agree on anything. But in Idaho, there was a bipartisan resolution passed saying that we want this mine to be approved, and we want this mine to be approved as soon as possible. They did that about 2 months ago. The Democrats and the Republicans, they sent this resolution to the president and said, hey, approve this mine as fast as humanly possible. So that was one thing that's happened since last year. Another thing is, just a week or two ago, Barrick, the largest gold producer in the world, came in and took out 19.9% of Midas Gold. At the time, it was a 9% premium to the share price. I think they paid something like $38 million for that 19.9% stake. So that sort of shows the belief that Barrick has in the project. I like things that are going to be mine. I firmly believe that Midas's Stibnite project is going to be a mine. There's a fish passage. If you know anything about, getting mines constructed, it's all about, how are you going to remediate this? How is it not going to impact the environment? Well, this used to be a mine back in the 30s and 40s, and it was shut down, and they're going to remediate the project. They're going to open a fish passage that's been closed for nearly 100 years. They have environmentalists on the board of the local subsidiary they created that are championing the project, and so it seems like all is going swimmingly for the fish and for the project. And they also have a critical mineral called antimony that's primarily produced out of China. It's a flame retardant, so it stops things from burning. It's used a lot in military applications. And given the trade war implications over the past couple months with China, I think it would behoove the United States to sort of get their own supply of antimony. And I think the U.S. Geological Survey and some other U.S. departments are keen on that as well. So for all those reasons, Midas Gold is the top pick. As Brent said, probably 18 to 24 months, 3 years to get it all permitted. But I think, once that comes, that's the big for sale sign on the company. Someone's going to want to own this much bigger project. I'll also talk about Fission. No one's mentioned Fission yet. I saw their booth out there. They have the Triple R deposit at Patterson Lake South. This is a uranium play. It's been ranked by third parties as the best undeveloped asset of any metal or mineral in the world, not just uranium. It's over 100 million pounds now. That was at the PEA stage. They're fast at work on a PFS. They just wrapped up their winter drilling. Over 80% of the holes hit high-grade shallow uranium. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 times the grades that are mined in Namibia and elsewhere. Look, nobody cares about uranium. When they do, the stock's going to be worth many times what it is now. The last pick is Abacus. This is my second swipe at Abacus Mining and Exploration. They have a carried 20% interest in a giant copper project north of here called Ajax in BC, but BC slapped them on the wrist and said, oh no, you're not going to develop that a couple months ago, and the stock completely cratered down to, I don't know, 15 or 20 cents around where it sits now. So it's got a tiny little 10.8 million market cap. They still have that project. It hasn't been written off by Ajax. Something could come of it. But the reason I'm interested in Abacus again is because they've optioned a project from Almadex Minerals called Willow. And if you know anything about Almadex and the Poliquins, they have some very good projects, and I've talked to Morgan, and he's very keen on Willow and said he would have probably been doing some work on Willow if he wasn't so busy with his El Cobre deposit in Mexico. So Abacus has optioned this Willow project. The theory is that it's got a lost porphyry, a lost Yarrington porphyry that Anaconda never found. They're going to drill that thing right now. One drill mobilized last month. They're going to poke one 800-meter hole and two 600-meter holes, and that's the drill hole play. Abacus, AME.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. Now we are actually at time, so we do not have time for questions right now, but all 5 of these individuals will be on the show floor. All 5 are speaking at least once, if not twice or 3 times more at this conference, so check the agendas and have a look at the workshop times and future speaker hall panels. So please join me in giving these gentlemen a big round of applause. Thank you.